Is iPadOS currently in need of a macOS Snow Leopard-like update? It's been a while now, but it was a big deal back in the day when Apple brought out Snow Leopard for macOS that had basically zero significant new features. It was purely focused on things like stability, squashing bugs, improving what's already there, and making sure that everything worked properly. And people are still talking about this, like you can see on Reddit. Here's from a year ago. Someone says, "For me, Snow Leopard was special because it was about performance and stability fixes." And not only that, but someone below that points out Snow Leopard having zero new features was something that no other company would do. Today's video is brought to you by The Great Onboarding, everything worth learning now, linked up down below with a 50% discount. Now, I'm going to tell you exactly what kicked off this big discussion, because this is a big discussion. People are talking about this all over the internet, whether or not Apple needs to take a similar approach with iOS right now. But first, let's just kind of talk about, iOS 18 has had a bit of a rough release, a rough patch. It was where Apple Intelligence was supposed to come to the forefront and make everyone feel like buying new iPhones to take advantage of it. And actually the data shows that a lot of Apple users just don't care about what Apple Intelligence has to offer right now. That's not Chris speaking. You can look at the headlines and deduce that for yourself. But also redesigns like the Photos app redesign, which some people say they really like, but a lot of people say they really don't. These are the sorts of things that have people like Quinn, aka Snazzy Labs, saying if there was ever a need to release a Snow Leopard for iOS, it's now. Go under the hood, fix all the little weird bugs that have been neglected for years, fix the UX, make it stable again, add zero new features, just fix the shoddy crap, which actually was a response to something that Gurman from Bloomberg reported, which we'll get to in just a second. But people are calling for, a macOS Snow Leopard or iOS 12 sort of update. And that was kind of similar, where Apple just goes in and makes sure that everything that's already there is just as good as it possibly can be before trying to introduce any new complexities. So people like to fondly remember Snow Leopard as something that was just really amazing, but iOS 12 basically was like that, but for the iPhone. It focused more on performance rather than new features, quality improvement, security updates. And before we get to that original post, I just want to bring up, what is the bigger feature? Is it to have something that works really well and is reliable, or is it to get change sometimes for the sake of change, just to drive sales, or just to say, hey, we got something new, so your device feels fresh and new after you've gotten used to it after? This is a serious question. What is the bigger feature? Stability and reliability, or newness? So here's the original post from Gurman that kicked this all off. He said, "I continue to hear that the gradual rollout of features across iOS 18 to 18.4 is leading to delays of some features scheduled for iOS 19. That will lead to long-term rollout of features next cycle as well. Engineers are stuck working on iOS 18 projects when they'd usually be on the following OS." Now, already, if you've been paying attention to any of the betas, and let's go back to the Photos app, you've seen that the Photos app in current updates, every update has started kind of changing a little bit already. So maybe that's some of what he's talking about, when there was user feedback, and there's been a lot, and there's been a lot of harsh feedback. People are, again, all over the place. Some people are liking stuff, some people are not, but you've already seen some changes that are pretty big changes coming through the betas. So I think it's pretty safe to say here the general sentiment is frustration among iOS users regarding the latest updates. A lot of people are expressing fatigue over the bugs and maybe the poor UX decisions. I would say the positive sentiment is objectively from more of a niche group. If you just do a simple search across social media, you can see that the people who really like it are more in the minority. And then it's the criticism that I think is pretty widespread. So you can see increased battery drain. People feel like the UX is degraded. You can see over on the All In podcast, Kameth has expressed extreme dissatisfaction with iOS 18, not happy with it at all. He says the phone just doesn't work. He'll call his wife or his kids and the phone bricks constantly. He doesn't like the Photos app. It's just really bad. So I think what people are looking for based on the feedback, if I could just encapsulate it, if they are looking for a Snow Leopard-like or iOS 12-like update from Apple, they want stability for their devices, less crashes. They want a UX that makes sense to them, that is a joy to use in everyday situations. They want better performance across the board, battery included. And as you can see, here's a post over on the forums at Mac Rumors. I mean, this is a long post with some responses. There's just a lot of sentiment here. There's some pent up demand for stability over brand new features. And I actually feel like for the first time in a really long time this year, I'm feeling less people feel more attached to Apple as a brand and consider actually switching over to like Samsung or something else to just try it than in the past. iOS updates can definitely impact user retention in the long term. So it used to be that Apple would say, hey, we come out with, 5 years of support and security patches and stuff. So when you buy this phone, it's going to work for at least that long, stay up to date and fresh. Samsung's come out and now they're doing like 7 years. So Apple's not even necessarily leading in every category when it comes to these updates. And people used to just think of Apple as like, it just works. It's simple and it just works. And this is weird. This year, I'm really starting to notice some of the erosion from the customer base of these notions. People are like, hey, they're drinking Apple Kool-Aid. Well, I guess they're drinking a little bit less of it, or it's hitting them a little bit differently. Like, I'm just saying it's palpable. I can see that erosion a little bit out in the Apple sphere. But anytime that this happens, it can be a really good opportunity. Apple could come in with just sweeping stability fixes and everything and nail stuff. And that could go a long way towards people feeling really good about it. After Snow Leopard, people moved on. They didn't really look back and say like, oh, everything needs to get changed still. After iOS 12 hit, everyone kind of moved on, right? And so this complaining could stop with the right sort of update. What are your thoughts here? Are you in that niche group of people who really are happy with stuff? Are you more, and likely statistically, you're more likely upset with a few things? What have you experienced with iOS 18? Have you been experiencing the crashes, things like battery drain, stuff like that? Or does this not even, this isn't even on your radar? You don't know what Quinn's talking about or anybody else on Mac Rumors or whatever. Like, you're just like, no, it's a cool phone. Let me know. If you've never checked out one of my courses, you should check out the AI and I bundle because it's actually several courses in one. It's in pre-order, so you get a really crazy value. It's only $99, but all the course content would equal $450 if you didn't get this pre-sale. And you get a course to dig into right away while you're waiting for the AI course to launch. It's my Pro iPhone Video Essentials course. And by the way, you can check out my Learning to Be Productive course or my Freeform Unleashed course for 50% off right now for the holidays. Limited time, so check it out. It's all linked up down below.